Ian. So our next item is notices of motion. And I'll ask Councillor McDade to move your motion, please.
Thank
Just
you.
a reminder, you have 3 minutes.
Don't worry. Thanks, Mayor. I'll take the motion as read. As a council, we strive to improve the health and well-being of all citizens, and with the ever-growing cost of living crisis and the increased pressures and stress of daily life, encouraging active travel like walking, running and cycling has never been
The seconder. Councillor Norris, okay.
has never been more beneficial. We know that being outside and exercising brings so much benefit to our physical and mental health. And with our beautiful new greenways connecting the city and beyond more now than ever, I think it's time to encourage everyone to get out and use them. If you walk up the quay any night of the week, you'll be met with hundreds of people running, jogging, walking, and I think we can expand that now to cycling. The introduction of a bike scheme similar to Belfast Bikes will make it affordable and accessible to more people, encouraging men, women and children to get out and get active. And I don't think we need to mention the chaos that we've seen in the city with traffic these past few days. Traffic's at a standstill across the district. And I know the Floyd Cup always brings traffic disruption, which is completely fine and we completely accept that. But for some reason, DFI, NI Roads and NI Water are always seem to do all the projects at the same time in this area. They never seem to coordinate and the traffic causes stress, worry and worst of all, accidents. And I think if we had a bike scheme, maybe this might alleviate some of it. I know this has been discussed by council in the past and often the biggest stumbling block is financing the scheme. But given the obligation that DFI have to spend 10% of their budget on active travel, we need to get in there and get a piece of that pie. Given that Belfast City Council have recently been given 500,000 to expand their scheme, it wouldn't be a big ask that regional balance is considered and we're funded for a similar scheme. So I'll ask all members to support this motion and help our city and district to become more healthy, happier and get its fair share of funding from DFI. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McDade. That's been proposed and seconded. Any other member wish to comment? Alderman McMorris, sorry.
Thanks, and thanks to Catherine for bringing this forward. The DUP welcomes the recognition within this motion of the clear health, social and environmental benefits that active travel can bring to our city and district. We fully support initiatives that encourage walking, cycling and greater use of the North West Greenway network as a means of improving physical and mental well-being, reducing congestion and contributing towards meeting our climate responsibilities. However, while we are in a broad agreement with the aims of this motion, we must stress the importance of financial responsibility. At a time when public services are facing significant pressures, it is vital that any proposals for extending active travel schemes, such as the introduction of the Dairy Bikes network, are approached with careful scrutiny. We therefore ask that before any commitment to significant expenditure is made, one is a detailed business case is prepared, setting out clear costings and potential funding sources, including opportunities for external and partnership funding. And a sustainability plan is presented, ensuring that any scheme introduced can be maintained without placing an undue burden on ratepayers. And clear measurable outcomes are identified so that the benefits of such investment, whether economic, environmental or social, can be properly assessed and reported. With these assurances, we are content to support the motion and look forward to seeing how active travel can be enhanced in a way that is both beneficial to residents and prudent with public funds. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman McMorris. Councillor Jackson.
And thanks to Councillor McDade for bringing the motion. And I know our green infrastructure is very much widely used, very popular, and there's so much potential for us to add to it, improve on it, and extend it. And the extension, this proposal is one way that we can ensure, try to encourage a more modal shift. And I know of all weeks, this week has shown that there's clear benefits from active travel, and that they encourage people to take other modes of transport that could alleviate traffic congestion. So there's merit in the motion, there's merit in this scheme, and we know as a party we have actively supported our green infrastructure plans. They did at every step, and I hope that other parties do the same. And we've been lobbying for investment on their green infrastructure plan. We've utilised the investment from Europe that has been lost as a result of Brexit, and that needs to be replaced by the British government. We do need to see we do need to see a modal shift. And I can recall us trialling a scheme like this within our own council area. I'm conscious that it was targeted towards council employees, but there's certainly merit if there's funding opportunities available to explore that to be widened out. I am conscious that there's huge need for investment in our infrastructure in this part of the world, and if we had £500,000, there's maybe other priorities that we'll be investing in rather than e-bikes, but we should be lobbying for investment in any way we can. So we wouldn't be objecting to the motion, and on that basis we're content to support. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to Councillor McDaid for the motion. Ulster Unionist Party have absolutely no problems in supporting the motion, and on a personal level, I particularly welcome the introduction or the inclusion of e-bikes within that. I don't know if members can imagine going up Shipquay Street on an ordinary bike. E-bikes certainly have the capability of dealing with the hill problem in and around the city. I note that the scheme is titled Dairy Bikes Scheme, and I accept that as a starting point, and hopefully the success of such a scheme can then lead to the development of other schemes in areas like Strabane, where green infrastructure is being expanded as we go along, and indeed other settlements. It's been welcomed across the chamber, the expansion of the greenways systems, and hopefully the bikes can follow where the infrastructure is now being gradually put into place. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Councillor Harkin.
Thank you, Mayor, for letting me in, and thank you to Councillor McDaid for bringing forward the motion today, and we're very happy to support it. I think we need to encourage active travel, and I think that this is a mechanism for doing that. We have developed our green network a lot, and there's a lot of interest in people finding alternative modes of transport. So I think we have to get behind that and propose it. Belfast has it, and I think that, look, Belfast has it because it's a major city, and Derry is also a major city. And if you go to a lot of major cities around the world, e-bikes are available for people, for residents, but also for tourists. And I think that this is something that we want to see developed and brought forward in our city. So I think it's a good proposal, and I would like to see it progressed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. Members, I'm sensing that all members are in support of the motion as non-contentious, so we'll mark that as passed and move on then to our next. Sorry, would you like to sum up on your motion? Apologies.
Thank you. No, you're grand. Just very quickly, I suppose just to pick up on a couple of things that Alder McMorris says about making sure there's scrutiny. I would assume that would happen no matter what. I didn't think it was important to say it. Assume that any new scheme goes through is scrutinised, and any public money that's spent would be scrutinised. We wouldn't be spending it willy-nilly. And Councillor Jackson, I wasn't suggesting that we spend £500,000 on e-bikes. That was just to kind of put the comparison of what it's been really, the Belfast bike scheme has been really, really successful. And they've now got an additional investment of £500,000 to add on e-bikes. I think that, yes, there's lots of other things within our infrastructure that we need to be spending money on, but this is just a way, I think, that we can encourage more active travel as well as getting that investment. Our public transport in Derry isn't good enough. Like, you can't, where I live, there's not a bus that comes past. I have to take the car. So I think that this is a way of just encouraging other modes of transport rather than everyone driving around individual cars. And Alderman Hussey, dairy bikes, we have to start somewhere. So I'm from Derry, so I thought starting Derry, but it would be able to be expanded out, and a name's just a name. Thank you. And thanks for everyone who supported it.
Thank you, Councillor McDaid. So members, that motion passes. Our next notice of motion is from Councillor Norris,
Thank you, Mayor.
seconded by Councillor Minnie.
I'll take the motion as read. Recently, I've had the pleasure of raising this issue with Jason Smith, 6-time Paralympic champion, who now works for Paralympic Ireland as a strategist. Also have had various conversations with Chloe and Judith McComb, who compete in para triathlon. And can I congratulate Chloe and her guide, Aisling, who won bronze for Ireland at the weekend and at the World Triathlon Para Series at Montreal. And Judith and her guide, Emer, on their bronze at the World Triathlon Para Series in Italy. I've also been helping Jennifer Smith, who recently opened Jen's Gym, who offers people with neurological conditions and disabilities a safe place, an accessible place to work out and exercise. And herself recently appeared on the One Show. Each of them have highlighted various issues regarding people living with a disability or health condition, trying to access sport and facilities for sport within schools, communities, and at elite levels. If I can start with the elite sports, only 9 athletes and 2 guides compete at elite Paralympics from the island of Ireland. 6 from Ireland, 3 from Northern Ireland. And if we look at the rest of Team GB, it's 169 for England, 22 for Wales and 21 for Scotland. Northern Ireland is roughly the same population of Wales, who have 23 athletes, compared to Northern Ireland's 3. I just find this totally unacceptable. Now, as you all know, this is a complex matter, and I'm going to try to explain it the best I can. In Northern Ireland, we have various acts regarding people living with a disability. Firstly, the Disability Discrimination Act of 1985. Also, Special Education Needs Disability and a Order of 2005. And more recently, the SEND Act of 2016. These require schools and the Education Authority to not discriminate and to make reasonable adjustments in curriculum, facilities, policies, procedures explicitly covering PE and sports. In schools, PE is compulsory at all key stages and must include pupils with a disability. An initiative launched by Disability Sport NI in February 2025 called All Equal, All Active, a Call to Action, was funded by the Executive via Sport NI and the Department for Communities, specifically calls for equal access to PE and school sport for children with a disability. In this report, it details that there has been an unprecedented 18% drop in the number of disabled people participating in sport and physical activity over the last 5 years. In this report, it states that 24% of the population of Northern Ireland are living with a disability or health condition. Now, we talk about percentage, but if we put that on the actual people, that's 463,800 people. And if we look wider and combine the figures, so on the island of Ireland, that equates to approximately 1.58 million people living with a disability or health condition, which is roughly 23% of the population. Now, to break that down further, of the 468,018 people,
Councillor.
sorry, living with a health condition, and of this figure, there is 41,520 children living with a disability. That equates to 2.1. Now, if we break that on the district council, that's 40,870 people living with a disability or health condition, and of which is 3,605 children. Now, in the report, it also details that there's 1 in 4 children with a disability that are not gaining access to PE. If you break that down, that's 10,380 children are getting access. 31,140 children aren't getting access in Northern Ireland. If we break that down to our council area, there's 901 children gaining access. 2,704 children within schools are not gaining access to PE. I just find this totally unacceptable. I think going forward, I've asked in the motion to write to that both ministers, and I think a plan has to be put in place by the executive, the challenges and they put something better in for access for people living with disability. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Norris. And Councillor Alex Duffy.
Mayor, and thank you, Declan, for bringing this motion today. We want to express our full support for this motion. Making sport and physical activity inclusive for all, especially people with disabilities, is not just a matter of equality, it's a matter of urgency. Recent reports showing a decline in participation among disabled children in schools and in community sport are deeply worrying. We cannot allow barriers, whether physical, financial, or cultural, to exclude anyone from the benefits of sport. We are fortunate in this district to have outstanding role models who show what is possible when inclusion works. Notably, as Declan has already said, we have Jason Smith from Eglinton, a four-time Paralympic gold medalist and is still undefeated after 17 years. Sally Brown, who just outside our district in Ballykelly competed in the London Paralympics also, as well as Keegan Taylor, local, what this council has recognised. He's from the Oxford Bulls and was named the Sports Star of the Year with a disability in 2024, and also Chloe McComb as well. Their success didn't happen by chance. It came through support, opportunity, and inclusion practice. That's why it is right that we write to the Minister of Education and Communities asking what concrete plans are in place to support teachers to deliver accessible PE in schools and reverse the decline in community sport participation for disabled people while strengthening pathways to elite competition. Locally, we must also lead by example, ensuring our council-run facilities and programmes are accessible, inclusive and welcoming to all. Inclusion in sport is not optional, it's essential. Everyone deserves a chance to take part and belong and to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Alderman McManus.
Thank you, Chair, for letting me in, and thanks also to Councillor Norris for bringing this motion forward. PE should not only be a key element of the curriculum, but a central part of children's overall development. There is growing consensus on the need for PE and sport to be positioned at the core of the curriculum. PE has a wide range of physical and emotional benefits, from developing muscle and bone strength, increasing concentration, and improving educational performance and learning, to boost mood and reducing the risks of many lifestyle-related diseases. Developing regular physical activity in childhood is crucial. We know that children who are active and are more likely to become active adults and to continue to reap the benefits of an active lifestyle throughout their life. In recent years, growing evidence has suggested that physical activity has the potential to support learning more broadly. Research has also shown that physical activity can improve short-term memory, reaction time, and creativity. It increases attention span, coordination, and complex thinking, and enhances behaviour and academic achievement. There is also significant evidence that engagement of young people in high-quality PE supports the development of life skills such as leadership, organisation, communication, resilience, and problem solving. Yet we know that our schools are frequently held back by having poor facilities. The Education Minister, Paul Givan, has provided 10 million of funding, which will roll out outdoor play equipment for all nursery and primary schools. Pupils who have additional needs have to be supported by making equipment and sports halls available and accessible, as disability access is a vital part of enhancing our school infrastructure provision. Minister Givan has also advised that the new curriculum-led capital investment programme builds on and sits alongside the Special Education Needs Capital Programme that he has announced, with his department already looking at all 39 special schools to identify opportunities to enhance provision in those schools. In regards to actions being taken to reverse the decline in participation in community sport by people with disabilities, and what strategies are in place Whilst everything should be done to support all our athletes, last summer we saw 9 athletes and 2 guides from Northern Ireland participate across 6 sports in the Paralympic Games. I want to pay particular mention as well to the twins from Claudia, para-athletes Judith and Chloe McComb. They are fantastic young women who are visually impaired and competed at the top of their game. The DUP is happy to support this motion, but recognise the many excellent organisations such as Foyle Down Syndrome Trust, who fund initiatives like the Peace Games football tournament, which encourage disabled participation, not only in school-aged children, but also with adults. Lastly, I would also like to mention our very own strategic capital priority of Templemore Sports Complex, which officers and members in this chamber will ensure is built to high specification in order to be inclusive and accessible for all disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Councillor Harkin.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Norris, for bringing forward this motion, and we very much support it. Children with disabilities deserve full access and equal access to physical education. And I think that there's a tremendous amount of will in our schools from teachers and classroom assistants and others to facilitate that and to make it happen. But to make it happen, schools need to be fully supported. And that's what this is addressing. And I think that we have to get away from the idea that the problem is the person with the disability. The problem is society, and society has to adjust to meet people's needs so people actually are fully included and can participate, as others have said. And the benefits of physical education are very, very clear for all. So I think that this is a positive motion, and I think that we're happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. Alderman Montgomery.
Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me in. I just want to thank Councillor Norris for bringing this motion forward. It is important that all children have access to education, that no child is left behind, and we are more than happy to support this.
Okay, members. Nobody else indicated to speak, and again, I'm sensing that we're all in support of the motion. So take that as passed. Moving on. Now.
Sum up.
Sorry, sum up, Councillor. I'll get used to it, yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for everybody's comments. And as everybody has said, this is such a big topic, you know, and I respect that money has been put on to schools and all the rest, but unfortunately, the report states that there's still children not achieving PE, and that's due to many factors, but I think by writing to the ministers, we can find out what them factors are and hopefully get a plan forward to changing these figures and getting everybody inclusive in sport. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Norris. Our final notice of motion is in the name of Councillor Harkin.
Thank you, Mayor. Can I take the motion as read?
And seconded by Councillor Donnelly.
As we know, the health service is vital for our communities and is at the centre of what many people do right across the north. But we know that it has been faced with tremendous challenges because there has been an orchestrated plan coming from Westminster, primarily to privatise the health service and destroy it. And the challenges that our healthcare workers and the challenges that the thousands of people who are on waiting lists speaks volumes about the impact of that drive towards privatisation over many, many years. It is unfortunate, but I think that the Stormont executive in many ways has went along with this. And I think that this example of what's happening to the ambulance, our ambulance services speaks volumes to that. Over the last 5 years, nearly £50 million has been spent on private ambulance services. And that is, in the last year, it amounted to £10 million. So the trade unions who represent the workers who drive our ambulances on a day-to-day basis, they have a straightforward argument that money that is available for frontline services should be invested into frontline services those frontline services are the Northern Ireland Ambulance Service, and that's where money should be going, and it shouldn't be siphoned out and siphoned off to private companies. And when you look at that over a number of years, this is a lot of money. And it's a lot of money because we have a health minister that is regularly telling us how little money there is to spend on frontline services. And this is only one example of where we have public money being spent on private companies. And I just think that this is compounding the crisis and the challenges that our health service face. So I think what this motion is saying, it's a message to the health minister and a message to the Stormont executive that the stealth privatisation of the health service needs to stop, and that we need to prioritise frontline services and beef up the capacity of the ambulance service as it is. And there's connected issues because, look, as people know, the ambulance workers will tell you now, and I've spoken to workers ambulance drivers and others, about ambulances waiting around hospitals because they've brought people and the patients that they've brought can't be seen and they can't be progressed through the hospital. Now, the problem is that on the other side of A&E is people in beds, unfortunately, who should be actually in community care or in care homes, and so this is a huge holdup. So these things are all interconnected, but I think we should back the worker-led trade union campaign to focus funding of public money on the health service. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy.
Good morning, Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Harkin for bringing the motion. There is absolutely no doubt the importance of our ambulance service to the smooth running of our health service and for the timely interventions regarding serious emergency public health issues. Our ambulance service saves lives multiple times a day. It is a frontline NHS service, not a luxury, and it is often the first point of contact in medical emergencies with really highly trained paramedics. If response times are slow due to underfunding, people die, and that is the bottom line. A publicly funded ambulance service is the lifeline of the NHS emergency response. It's not just about keeping wheels on the ground, it is about keeping people alive and keeping a healthcare system public, equitable and humane. As a party, Sinn Féin have always made it clear that we want health to be our #1 spending priority. We aren't just talking about health, we have actually built a detailed reform blueprint and pushed for concrete funding. We have consistently prioritised the health budget, ensuring that it has received the lion's share of the Stormont budgets. Unfortunately, our funding crisis emanates from Westminster directly. We have consistently seen the block grants stripped, and we have seen the North underfunded for too many years, which has led to chronic consequences for our health service. For our health service and indeed our ambulance service to thrive, we need a rethink. We need services that are planned on an all-Ireland basis. In my view, Westminster has consistently failed us. It is a system that is set to look after the English need. We need an all-Ireland health system free at the point of delivery. You can't fix the system with Westminster crumbs. So I am going to say that we are in support of the motion. Everything within it we agree with as a party. And could I just put on record our thanks, our continued thanks to those who work within the health service through really difficult circumstances, and in particular today in relation to the motion to our ambulance services who go above and beyond in really difficult circumstances as well. So thank you, Councillor Harkin, for bringing the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Farrell.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks to Councillor Harkin for proposing the motion. And on behalf of the SDLP, I want to speak in favour of it. We're opposed to any creeping privatisation of the health service, and that extends to ambulance provision as well. And there was an Audit Office report released in March of this year, and it highlighted serious failings right across the ambulance service. only 7% of ambulance handovers were completed within the 15-minute time target. 25% of capacity within the service is wasted due to handover delays, and that's costing the service £50 million over the last 5 years. And the Audit Office report has 2 specific recommendations regarding private ambulance companies. It recognises the over-reliance on private ambulance companies, and it has tasked the ambulance service with determining whether that's value for money or whether capacity within the service should be increased. And it also recognises that private ambulances are completely unregulated, and they've asked the department to ensure that there's genuine oversight and regulation regarding standards. So our view is that those services should be delivered in-house. They should be delivered by the ambulance service, but we need far more capacity. And it's a 1-1 for everybody. You know, if there's more capacity in the system, it's better for patients, it's better for healthcare staff, and it's better for our city because, you know, all the paramedics are trained up at McGee. So if there was more capacity, you know, it would be good for everybody. So happy to support the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Farrell. And Alderman Cook.
Mayor, for letting me in, and thanks to Councillor Harkin for bringing this motion forward. We all know that more funding needs to be given to the NHS. One of the most pressured departments is unfortunately the ambulance service. On circumstances, hiring private ambulance companies on a short-term basis can show to be more cost-effective, but certainly not in the long term. And now with the backlogs, staff shortages, performance targets need to be met, and most importantly, for the emergency calls, unfortunately, this is where we see ourselves, relying on private companies and spending more money than it should take. We need to see more money being pumped into the NHS and for the Northern Ireland Ambulance Service to be properly funded, and we agree that spending money wisely on internal recruitment is more beneficial rather than a quick fix. So all in all, the DEP support this motion, and we look forward to seeing the responses come back. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. And finally, Councillor Leonard.
Thanks for letting me in. I just want to declare in this particular one because I work part-time with one of the private ambulance services, or as they're also known as the independent ambulance providers. The independent providers are contracted to NIAS through a framework with Business Services Organisation, BSO. And there are strict governance arrangements around training, PPE, vehicles, and particularly patient centricity. There are, we'll say, about 10 medium-sized independent providers, and that includes St John's, the Red Cross, and the Order of Malta that cover the 6 counties. The role is divided into non-emergency work, which is bringing patients in for appointments, maybe into fracture clinics. Very much our work is bringing into patients in for renal appointments, or transferring patients between hospitals and taking patients home from hospitals. The emergency work involves responding to incidents for NIAS and on occasions, Northern Ireland Ambulance Service that is, and on occasions with ambulance staff. At our meetings with ambulance service, they do regularly say to us that they want to get a position where they don't need private contractors. There's no natural progression from working for one of the independents into Northern Ireland Ambulance Service, but what I will say, it's a good stepping stone for whenever people do actually get into the ambulance service itself. And just finally, in the current format, the way things are at the minute, the independent providers are critical to supporting the ambulance service, the health trusts, and most important, the patients.
Thank you, Councillor Leonard. No other indicated speakers, members, so again, I'm sensing unanimous support for the motion. So, does Councillor Harkin want to sum up? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks everybody for their support. And look, I do think Westminster has driven the privatisation, but Stormont has played a role, and that's what we're seeing here. This is Stormont privatising our health service by stealth. So a lot of this gets heaped on the health minister, but I do think it is the responsibility of the Stormont executive that they need to be, as a group, pushing back against this. And our frontline workers in ambulances and elsewhere in the health service, they are heroes, whether they are working for the private companies or working for the health service. But you know what's happened. We see privatization, we see outsourcing, and this is the ways in which the health service has been broken down. There hasn't necessarily been a plan, or there's been a secret plan, but it happens bit by bit, and then before you know it, over a 5-year period, we're spending £50 million of public money in a funding crisis that's not going to frontline services. So I do think I was a bit shocked when I read about this. There's an explanation as to why ambulance workers are stuck at hospitals and stuck at A&Es, and that's part of a bigger crisis in the health service. But you know, this isn't acceptable, and I think that we are putting our weight behind now the combined trade union demands to get this addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. Members, we can take that motion as passed, which then brings us to our next item, which is the seating list, which requires a proposer and seconder. Proposed Alderman McMorris, seconded Councillor Boyle. Any member wish to raise any issue? No. So move on then to open for information, items 16 to 19. 16 is the response to motions. 17 is resolutions from other councils. 18 is correspondence. And 19 is any other relevant business. Councillor Farrell.
So apologies in advance, Mayor. It's something that I failed to raise in the B&C minutes, but saying it is pretty urgent. It is regarding a really valued organisation in our city, Echo. So I beg your indulgence for like 2 minutes, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. So anybody who was at the Business and Culture meeting was well aware that the Arts Council came to the meeting. There were terse exchanges between members and members of the Arts Council. Councillors have met Echo since. I was there, Councillor Donnelly was there, Councillor Harkin was there, Councillor Alex Duffy was there, and we had agreed to make a proposal to invite the Minister to a committee to discuss the funding crisis. I am aware that a member from DFC will present to Business and Culture in September, and the simple request would be, along with Mr. Greenway, I think, could we invite the Minister, Gordon Lyons, as well? Thank you.
That's straightforward enough. Yeah, that's straightforward enough. So just to keep things right, a seconder, Councillor Norris. So nobody against. Okay, members, that brings us to the end of the meeting. So thanks very much for your attendance and safe home.
Sorry, Mayor, excuse me. Councillor Riley online.
Enjoy the recess.
Sorry.
Any problems, contact John Kelpie.
Mayor, sorry, excuse me, Mayor. I had raised an item online.